The stars outside the window of the old scout ship blinked like tiny white eyes. Dylan sat in the pilot's seat, his hands resting on the dusty controls. The ship was old, barely holding itself together, but it flew. He had been sent on a solo mission by the Outer Sector Repair Fleet to investigate a repeating signal from Sector K-7. The signal wasn't dangerous, just strange. It wasn't a distress call. It wasn't coded data. It was soft, steady, and musical, like a song with no words. Headquarters thought it might be a malfunctioning beacon. Dylan thought otherwise. He had been listening to it for hours now. And something about it felt alive. His ship landed near the ruins of an old outpost built into the side of a gray asteroid.
Ow.
The walls of the structure were cracked, and the entrance lights flickered. As he stepped outside in his suit, a soft pulse vibrated through the ground like a heartbeat echoing in the metal below. He walked slowly through the halls. Broken screens showed flickers of static. Vines from asteroid dust plants crept through the cracks. But deep inside the base, something different waited. A smooth door, untouched by time, stood closed but humming quietly. It vibrated in rhythm. With the signal he had followed, when he placed his hand on the panel, the door hissed open. The room inside was round and clean, with glowing symbols on the walls. And at the center stood a tall, glass-like chamber, filled with soft blue light. Inside floated a young alien woman. She wasn't like the species Dylan had seen in the Federation records. She had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face shaped like a human's, but her features were smoother, almost soft like painted silk. Her skin was pale gold, and her long hair floated around her like strands of shining thread. Her eyes were closed. She didn't look dead. She looked like she was waiting. Dylan stepped closer. The chamber let out a low hum that matched the beat of the strange signal. He touched the base of the pod. The hum grew louder, and her fingers twitched. A moment later, her eyes opened. They glowed faintly, at first soft blue, full of confusion. She blinked slowly, then looked at Dylan. Out. Her voice came through the chamber like a whisper carried by music. Human, she said weakly. Make me vibrate again. Dylan froze. What? The chamber gave off a sharp pulse. He jumped back as the top of the chamber opened, and the light inside dimmed. The woman fell forward, and he rushed to catch her. She was light in his arms, almost like she was made of air and sound. Hey, are you okay? He asked, setting her down gently. She looked up at him, her voice still low, but clearer now. I am Lasara of the Sonari. I have been silent for too long, Sonari, Dylan repeated. Never heard of that. She nodded slowly. We lived by sound, by harmony, by vibration. We shaped space with song. Then the silence came, and I was hidden. Here. Dylan looked around. There were panels on the walls showing strange symbols, many of them flickering. Some kind of old control system. It looked like the base had once been filled with energy. He stood up. Do you need help? Yes, Lasara said. My strength is gone. I need the tone, the pulse, the rhythm of life again. Dylan scratched his head. I'm not sure I understand, but I can try. He looked through the room. In the corner he found something that looked like a console. When he pressed a few buttons, it made soft notes, like keys on a musical instrument. The same notes. From the signal, Lasara reacted. Her fingers moved and her head tilted toward the sound. He pressed more keys. The tones grew stronger. Suddenly, the lights in the room pulsed brighter. Lasara sat up straighter, her hands slowly lifting as if to catch the music in the air, you hear it, she whispered. It's beginning. Dylan kept playing. He didn't know what he was doing exactly, but the machine seemed to respond to feeling more than skill. Every time he played something gentle or hopeful, the lights warmed. Every time he hit the wrong tone, they dimmed. Lasara guided him softly. Follow the flow, she said. Feel it, not just play it. Soon, her body glowed slightly, the gold of her skin growing warmer. She stood on her own now, walking to the center of the room with grace. You're recovering, Dylan said. Not fully, she replied. but enough to remember. Enough to feel the tones return. Suddenly, the console let out a sharp warning beep. Dylan frowned. That's not good. A panel on the wall blinked red. Something had been triggered. Maybe the signal had reached someone or something out there. Lysora's eyes widened. They heard. The hushed ones. They hate sound. They destroy all who carry vibration.
Great,
Dylan muttered. We've got company. Lysera stepped beside him. I am not ready to face them alone. But with you, perhaps I can find the tone again. Will you help me? Dylan didn't even pause. Yeah, let's do this. In the distance, outside the old base, the stars seemed to grow dimmer as if something was already approaching. Dylan stood in the middle of the strange room, watching as the red light on the wall kept blinking. It didn't take a genius to know what it meant. Someone or something had detected their signal. He looked at Lysera, who now stood beside him, with a calm but serious look on her glowing face. How far are they? He asked. They are close, she said quietly. Too close. They always listen for sounds like mine. They hate it. They fear it. Who are they exactly? Are called the hushed ones, she said. A race that lives in silence. They erased every world that used sound. They wiped out the Sonari long ago. I was saved only because I was hidden here in deep sleep. And now we just woke you up and rang the doorbell for them, Dylan muttered. Lyss Era nodded. They do not speak. They do not create. They only erase what vibrates. That's cheerful, he said, then walked back to the control panel. Can we stop the signal? The signal is already done, she said. They know I am alive. Dylan sighed and rubbed his forehead. Then we have to get out of here. I am not strong enough to leave this place, she said. But if we can find the tuning core, I can use it to restore my energy. Tuning core? Dylan asked. At Lyss Era walked toward a wall where more ancient panels were half buried under dust. She placed her hand on one, and glowing symbols appeared. This station was built on a frequency base, she explained. It holds a tuning core. That channels harmony into power. It helped me sleep safely. Now it must help me wake fully, so we find it, power it up, and you get your strength back. Yes, and maybe we survive. Dylan looked at the map on the wall that lit up. The core was 2 levels down, beneath the station in a chamber marked by a spiral symbol. He gave a short nod. All right, let's find your core. They moved together through the lower halls of the station. The deeper they went, the more the air changed. Dylan could feel it. Not actual air. This place had no real breeze, but vibrations, like soft waves brushing against his skin. Lysera seemed to grow more alive with every step. Her skin glowed a little brighter, her voice more steady when she spoke. This place still remembers, she said softly. The echoes remain.
Ice.
They reached the lower chamber. They came across a thick metal door. It was sealed tight. Dylan looked around and found a half-broken console. He tried tapping it, but it didn't respond. Any chance your magic sound tricks can open this? He asked. Lyss. Ira smiled a little. Perhaps. She stepped close to the door and hummed a gentle note. It was strange light, smooth but powerful. The metal began to vibrate in rhythm with her tone. She raised her hand and sang a second note, higher. The symbols on the door glowed, and with a loud click, the door opened slowly. Wow, Dylan said. You really are magical, Sarah. Tilted her head. Sound is not magic. It is life. Inside, the chamber was round and silent. In the middle sat the tuning core, tall crystal structure pulsing faintly with weak light. Strange metal arms held it in place. It looked beautiful, even in its dim state. Lysera walked toward it slowly. I need to connect with it, she said, but it will need your help too. What can I do? Your voice, she said. Your feeling. Vibration answers to those who carry emotion. Sound must come from heart, not just mouth. Dylan wasn't sure he believed that, but he trusted her. He walked to the other side of the room, where a set of ancient instruments were stored. One looked like a strange drum, another like a string. Box. He tapped the drum lightly, and it let out a low, deep tone. Lysera touched the crystal and closed her eyes. She began to sing again, low and calm, then rising slowly like waves. Dylan followed with the drum, letting his hands move as he felt the rhythm build. The crystal glowed brighter. The air hummed around them. Dust lifted from the floor as energy pulsed through the room. Lysera's voice grew stronger, echoing off the walls. Dylan switched to the string box and plucked a few notes that matched her tone. Suddenly the crystal flashed. A wave of sound burst outward. Dylan stumbled but stayed upright. Lysera was surrounded in a soft aura of golden light now. Her body stood tall, her hair lifting slightly as if floating in water. "You did it," Dylan said. "We did," she replied. "I can feel again. The vibration returns." Then the light in the room dimmed, and a new sound echoed through the halls. No voice, no breath. It's just a cold, silent pressure. Lysera turned toward the door. "They are here." Dylan grabbed a tool from his belt. "How many? I feel 3 ships above," she said. "They will send scouts first." They move. In silence, but they crush anything that sings.
"Can we fight them?"
Lysera looked at the tuning core, now glowing steadily. "Not yet, but I can protect us for a little while." She stepped forward and raised her hands. The tuning core sent out a pulse, like a barrier made of soft vibrations. The hum around them formed a dome of sound, pushing against the silence creeping in from above. "They will find us," she said. "This shield will not last forever, and we need to get out of here before they break it. Or we stay," Lysera said, "and learn to fight them, with sound." Dylan looked at her calm, glowing face, her steady voice. Deep strength. Maybe they had a chance. Maybe sound wasn't just noise. Maybe it was power. "Okay," he said. "Let's make them hear us." The soft hum of the shield filled the chamber like a gentle wind. Dylan sat beside the tuning core, trying to keep calm, but the thought of silent killers circling the station above kept his heart pounding. Lyss Era stood near the glowing crystal. Her eyes closed, her hands raised slightly. Her breathing matched the rhythm of the energy waves moving through the room. She was stronger now, brighter, but not ready to fight alone. "You said they'll come soon," Dylan said. "Yes," she replied without opening her eyes. "They will test our shield. They will look for weakness. They always do." Dylan rubbed his hands together. "Then we should get ready." Lysera opened her eyes and walked over to him. "You helped me rise again, human. Now I must help you." "Learn?" he frowned. "Learn what?" "To vibrate," she said softly. "Not just to speak or play sound, but to live in rhythm. Your feelings, your voice, your movement, they're the key." "Not a musician," he said with a small laugh. "I fix broken wires." "But you already played," she reminded him, "and the crystal answered you." Looked at the drum beside him. "I just followed your lead." "And that is where it begins," she said, sitting beside him. "Sound responds to truth. Your heart gives it shape." She reached for a small, strange-looking instrument that looked like a circle with thin strings stretched across it. She handed it to Dylan. "Try this." He took it and gently touched a string. It made a soft, echoing note. Then another. Each sound was smooth, but different. He began to test each one, slowly building a pattern. Lysera listened, her eyes glowing faintly. "Now, close your eyes," she said. "Don't look. Feel." He obeyed. The sounds became clearer. He imagined waves, wind, sunlight. Each note felt like it carried part of him. He didn't even notice that the air around them was changing. The glow from the tuning core began to shift with his notes, pulsing in time with his playing. "Yes," Lysera whispered. "You are tuning yourself." He opened his eyes and looked around. The dome of sound around them had grown stronger. It was no longer just her power, it was theirs. But then a crack echoed through the hallway. Both of them turned. The sound was sharp, but empty, like a space where a voice had been stolen. Lysera stood quickly. "They've entered the outer level." Dylan grabbed a tool from his belt again. "How many?" "1 scout. They send it first. It will try to silence everything it touches." "What does it look like?" "Like shadow," she said, "but made of metal. We will hear nothing, only feel the pressure." They moved out of the chamber and climbed the stairway toward the main hall. The silence grew heavy around them. Dylan could feel it pressing against his ears like cotton, but worse, it made his thoughts slow. It was as if sound itself was being drained. "They do this to weaken us," Lysera said, her voice now quiet. "They eat sound, they turn it into nothing." She took a deep breath and let out a single hum. The vibration spread down the hall, pushing back the silence. Ahead, they saw it. A long, thin figure floated just above the floor. Its body was black and smooth with sharp curves and no face. No sound came from it, but Dylan could feel something dark leaking from it like cold air without wind. "It's awful," Dylan whispered. "You must help me," Lysera said quickly. "Remember the tune from before?" He nodded. They stood side by side. Elisa raised her hands and began to sing again, clear and strong. Dylan followed with the instrument, adding the same notes from earlier. Their combined sounds pushed forward, striking the creature with waves of energy. It flinched, but didn't fall. Instead, it rushed toward them. Lysera raised her arms and a shield of sound blocked its path, but the pressure grew stronger. "Play from your feeling," she said, her voice tight. "Not your mind. Your fear, your hope, use it." Dylan looked at the creature and remembered everything. The fear, the anger, the desire to survive. He struck the strings harder, pouring every emotion into the notes. The sound grew louder, deeper. A sudden burst of energy hit the creature like a wave. It twisted, letting out a strange, high-pitched pulse that hurt their ears. Then it vanished. In a blink-on, like it was never there, Dylan gasped for breath. We did it. We survived," Lysera said. "But more will come." He looked at his hands. They were shaking not from fear, but from the power he had felt. "That felt real, because it was," she said gently. "You now. Carry the rhythm inside you." They returned to the tuning core chamber. The shield remained steady, but the air felt thinner. "What now?" he asked. "We must prepare again," she said. "We will need to train more. They will not send scouts. Next time, they will send silent storms." "What are those?" "Waves of silence that crush everything that sings," she said. "They are not alive. They are machines. But they are dangerous." Dylan looked down at the instrument in his hand. "Then I'll be ready." Lysera smiled. "You were already more than you were." Dylan sat near the tuning core once again. The station walls still shook faintly with the echo of the creature they had fought, but something had changed inside him. He was not just a technician anymore. He was part of the song now. The station was no longer quiet. Though the hushed ones brought silence with them, the core chamber now hummed with steady waves of sound. Dylan stood near the tuning crystal, practicing with the instrument Lysera had given him. Each note he played made the crystal glow softly, pulsing with rhythm and life. Lysera stood nearby, her eyes closed, breathing with the sound. She had changed since their first meeting. Her skin now shone brighter. Her voice was stronger and her steps carried more power. She no longer looked like someone waking from long sleep. "It feels easier now, like the music is inside me, because it is," she replied. "You've tuned yourself to the station, and to me." Dylan smiled a little. "Does that mean I'm a vibration mage now?" Lysera chuckled gently. "Not yet, but you are on the path." Suddenly, the shield around the core dimmed. The humming sound faltered. Both of them turned to look at the glowing barrier as it flickered. "Something's wrong," Dylan said. "They're coming," Lysera whispered. "But it's not just a scout this time." "The silent storm?" She nodded. "Yes. They send the storm when they fear something is waking. They mean to crush us before I can regain all my strength. Then we stop them before that happens." Dylan said. Lysera walked to the far wall and touched a hidden panel. It slid open, revealing a narrow hallway leading into darkness. Dylan looked at her with confusion. "What's in there?" "An ancient room," she said. "It holds forgotten tools of the Scifi. Could not open it alone. But with your energy added to mine, maybe we can awaken what sleeps inside." They stepped into the dark hallway. As they walked deeper, the silence outside grew thicker. Dylan could feel the pressure building like a wave waiting to crash. Finally, they reached a round chamber filled with dust-covered shapes. Strange instruments stood along the walls. Some looked like tall chimes, others like hollow tubes and strange curved metal horns. "What are these?" Dylan asked. "Tools of the old harmony," Lysera said. "Each one holds a piece of our power. They can shape space, bend light, even stop time, if used by someone tuned." Dylan walked up to one of the horn-shaped tools and gently touched it. The metal warmed under his fingers, and a faint sound echoed through the room. "It still works," he whispered. "Then we must learn quickly," she said, "because the storm is close." They began testing each tool. Lysera showed him how to play short patterns of tones. When used correctly, they sent out waves that pushed against the silence. One device could send sharp pulses that shattered silence bubbles. Another tool made a field of soft notes that could mask their presence. "Each tool has its own feeling," Lysera explained. "Some are angry, some are gentle. You must feel them to control them." Dylan focused hard. He didn't have her training, but he had something else, his own rhythm, his own instinct. He tried each tool one by one. Some didn't react to him, but a few did. One, shaped like a circle with strings and bells, sang brightly in his hands. This one, he said, "It listens to me." "Then it is yours," she said. "Carry it with heart." As they returned to the core chamber, the pressure in the air grew worse. The lights dimmed. The walls shook. Then the silent storm arrived. It came like a wave of dark fog, rolling down the hallway. It didn't make a sound, but everything it touched stopped. Moving lights flickered out. Air vents fell silent. Even the ground seemed to lose its hum. "Stand ready," Lysera said. She held her hands out and began to sing. Her voice was deeper, now more powerful. The sound met the storm and pushed back a small part of it. Dylan joined her, playing the stringed bell instrument in a fast rhythm, trying to match her tones. The silence fought back. The storm pulsed, trying to eat their sounds. But the more they played, the more the vibration field grew. Lysera stepped forward and raised her arms, sending a wave of golden energy across the hall. It met the storm, cutting it like a knife. But the storm wasn't done. They floated forward without walking, shapes made of smooth black silence. They reached out with long arms, trying to crush the vibrations around Dylan and Lysera. Dylan felt fear rise in his chest, but he didn't stop playing. Instead, he changed the rhythm. Faster, louder, sharper. His heart beat with each note. The instrument glowed in his hands. A blast of sound shot forward, striking one of the shadow forms and breaking it apart like shattered glass. "You're doing it," Lysera shouted. "Keep going." She added her voice to his sound, creating a powerful wave of music that danced through the chamber. The second shadow was caught in the wave and vanished. The third rushed at them fast, faster than the others. It slammed into the vibration shield, breaking part of it. The silence poured in for a moment. Lysera cried out and dropped to one knee. Dylan's song faltered, but he didn't stop. He shifted his notes again, playing from his fear and his hope. It struck the last shadow, shaking it, twisting it, until it, too, vanished into silence, and then the fog was gone. The chamber lit up again. The shield returned. The storm had passed. Lysera slowly stood, her hands shaking, but her face proud. "You did it. We did it," Dylan said, breathing hard. He looked at the instrument in his hands. "Then we get stronger too." Lysera smiled, a soft warmth in her glowing eyes. "You are no longer just a helper. You're becoming a warrior of sound." Dylan gave a small laugh. "Never thought music would save the galaxy." "Music is life," she said. "Together we will make sure it keeps playing." The station had gone quiet again, but this time, it wasn't the silence of fear. It was the calm after battle. Dylan sat on the floor beside the glowing tuning core, his fingers resting on the strings of the sound tool he had used to fight the shadow. His hands were tired, his body sore, his heart still beat with the rhythm of what they had just done. Lysera stood nearby, her eyes watching the glowing patterns on the chamber walls. She looked peaceful, but Dylan could tell something was on her mind. We stopped them, he said. Barely, but we did it. Yes, she replied. But this is not the end. They will return. And next time, they will bring more silence than we've ever felt. Dylan nodded slowly. Then we need to get ready. Lysera walked toward the center of the room. There's something I haven't told you yet, she said. What is it? Touched the tuning core. A wave of light moved through the chamber, and the walls shifted. A hidden panel slid open, revealing an old screen and controls covered in dust. This station is not just a shelter, she said. It was once a beacon. A beacon? Dylan asked. Yes, long ago, before the Hushed Ones came, this place sent out harmony to the galaxy. It helped worlds connect. It carried peace, healing, and unity. But when the Hushed Ones attacked, it was silenced. She wiped the dust from the screen and activated it. An image appeared, stars, planets, and lines of sound waves moving between them. This, she said, was the voice of the galaxy. Dylan stared at the screen. We can bring it back? We must, Lysera said. If we restore the beacon, we can call out to the old worlds. To those who remember sound, they may rise again. They may fight back. But won't that bring the Hushed Ones too, he asked. Yes, she said. But it will also bring hope. Dylan looked at the panel. Wires and systems that hadn't been touched in centuries. Can it still work? With your hands in my harmony, she said. Yes, they spent hours repairing the beacon. Dylan opened old ports, replaced broken cables, and cleaned rusted parts. Lysera retuned the energy lines with her voice, sending waves through the station's systems. It was hard work, but together they moved like one. Their rhythm grew stronger with every step. Finally, they stood before the beacon controls. Are you ready? She asked. Dylan took a deep breath. Let's do it. Lysera began to sing along, rising note that filled the chamber. The tuning. Core responded, sending pulses through the floor. Dylan pressed the buttons on the panel, matching her tones with commands. The station began to shake gently. Old machines hummed to life. Then a bright light shot upward through the ceiling and out into space. The beacon had awakened. Across the stars, a sound wave spread. It wasn't loud, but it was clear. A soft song of hope, of memory, of connection. Lysera lowered her hands and smiled. The galaxy will hear us again. Dylan smiled back. Do you think anyone will answer? Somewhere, someone will, she said. The Hushed Ones may have crushed many, but not all. Just then, a soft beep echoed from the console. A message. Dylan leaned forward and read it aloud, receiving a reply. From System V13, Lysera's eyes widened. V13. That was a strong voice world. It had deep tones, rich harmony. I thought it was lost. Maybe it survived, Dylan said. Or maybe someone else is there now. Either way, they heard us. He tapped the console and opened the signal. A soft, broken melody came through. It was weak, but real. Like a voice trying to sing after years of silence. Lysera closed her eyes and listened. They are trying. They are still alive. Dylan leaned back. So what do we do now? We strengthen the signal, she said. We send more power through the beacon. We prepare for what's coming. Outside, the stars shimmered. But deeper in space, something darker moved. The Hushed Ones had felt the pulse. They had seen the light, and they were not pleased. In a cold chamber far from the station, the leaders of the Hushed Ones stood in silence. Their bodies were smooth and black, their eyes closed. They spoke with no sound, only pulses of pressure. They had one message. Destroy the voice. Destroy the beacon. Destroy the harmony. They turned their attention toward Sector K-7. Dylan and Lysera did not yet know how close danger was, but they knew time was short. We need more help, Dylan said. You said others might still remember? Can we call them all? Lysera nodded. Yes, but the song must grow. It must be louder, stronger. They must feel it.
Add.
Sing it together, he said. HFY Ira placed her hand over his. You are no longer just a human. You are now part of the melody. Together, they returned to the center of the chamber. Instruments from the sonari chamber were placed around the room. Dylan played, Lysera sang, and the beacon grew brighter with every beat and far away. On old worlds forgotten by time, strange, and beautiful beings began to stir. They felt the vibration, they remembered the harmony, and they whispered back. The station glowed with life now. Where once silence had ruled, soft vibrations moved through every wall and wire. The beacon pulsed like a heartbeat, sending waves of harmony across the stars. Dylan stood by the control panel, watching new signals blink to life on the screen. More and more replies came in from distant systems. Lysera sat near the tuning core, her hands moving gently in the air as she shaped tones into messages. Her voice flowed with grace, guiding the music that reached across the galaxy. 3. More worlds responded today, Dylan said. That's 12 now. 12 voices, Lysera whispered. 12 lights in the dark. It is beginning. Each reply was different. Some sent sounds, others symbols, and a few sent images. Of their broken cities and quiet skies. Many survivors had hidden for years, afraid to sing, afraid to speak. But now, they felt something new. Hope. Dylan leaned over the console. System V13 says they've kept old instruments hidden underground. They're tuning them again. Lysera smiled. They remember. Their tones may be weak now, but in time, they will rise. Suddenly, the screen flashed red. A warning. Dylan froze. We've got movement. Lysera stood quickly. Where? They're coming from the edge of the sector. For hushed ships. Large ones. Lysera's eyes narrowed. They send their silence armies now. How much time do we have? Not much, she said. Their ships carry fields of silence. They will try to drown the beacon before the voice spreads further. Dylan's jaw tightened. And we don't let them. He and Lysera moved fast. They activated the outer defenses of the station-old machines buried in the walls, designed long ago by the Sonari to protect their harmony. Some were still working. Others needed repair. Dylan ran from room to room, fixing connections while Lysera retuned the machines with her voice. Outside the station, the darkness grew thicker. The hushed ships did not roar. They did not flash. They simply appeared floating like shadows with no sound, no light, and no mercy. Inside, the beacon sang louder. The tuning core vibrated with power. Instruments from the hidden chamber had been set around the beacon, creating a circle of rhythm. Lysera took her place at the center. Dylan, she said, you must lead the defense me? He blinked. I'm not a leader. You are now, she said. Your tone is strong. Your rhythm is true. And you have heart. Dylan swallowed. Hard. Okay. What do I need to do? Feel, play. Guide the harmony, she said, and protect the beacon. He stepped into the circle, holding his sound tool with steady hands. The strings responded to his touch, humming with warmth. The beacon pulsed brighter. Let's give them something to hear, Dylan whispered. The first wave came fast. Out. The hushed ones released silent storms waves of pressure that wrapped around the station. Inside, the vibration walls shook. Lights flickered. Systems stuttered. Lysera began to sing. A rising tone that pushed back the silence like sunlight. Through fog, Dylan joined her with strong, fast notes, sending bursts of sound through the station. Other instruments, now fully charged, joined in with soft melodies and deep echoes. The station became a song. The silence cracked. The first hushed storm broke apart against the shield. But more waves followed. Dylan could feel the strain in the air. The beacon was strong, but not unbreakable. They're trying to block our signal, he said. Then we must break through, Lysera replied. She raised her arms and sang a tone so high and clear that the entire station glowed. The tuning. Core answered her, shooting a beam of sound through the ceiling and into space. The hushed ships reeled from the blast on the console. New messages appeared. Allies from V13, Narca, and Dalto systems were sending power, linking their voices to the beacon. The melody grew stronger, deeper, wider. "They're joining us," Dylan said, sending harmony from across the galaxy. Sarah smiled, tears in her eyes. They remember what it means to be alive. The hushed ones pressed harder, sending dark drones that slipped past the outer wall. They floated silently down the halls, spreading pressure that made walls crack and metal groan. Dylan grabbed a second tool, a small disc that sent pulses of rhythm when struck. He moved through the halls, playing fast beats that pushed the drones back. The sound lit up the walls, filling the station with life again. One drone reached the core chamber. It stretched its dark arm toward the beacon before it could touch. Lysara's voice rang out, powerful and sharp. The drone froze, shook, and then shattered into dust. "No silence will take this place," she said. Dylan returned to her side. "They're not giving up, and neither will we." Together, they raised the song again. The sound rose high, filled with pain, hope, memory, and strength. The beacon blazed with color. It was no longer just a message, it was a promise. From across the galaxy, the forgotten voices joined them. Notes from old flutes, drums, strings, and voices. Each one added its tone to the song. The hushed ships, once calm, now shook with chaos. The silent storms broke. Pressure waves collapsed, and one by one, the dark ships began to fall apart, able to hold against the power of the united sound. As the last ship faded into the void, stars grew still. Dylan dropped to his knees, exhausted. "Did we win?" Lysara walked to him, her face glowing with joy. "We survived. We protected the voice. They'll come back," he said softly. "Yes," she nodded. "But next time, we won't be alone." The beacon still sang its song, now joined by thousands. The galaxy had remembered the power of sound, of feeling, being alive. Dylan looked at Lysara, his voice quiet. "Thank you for teaching me to vibrate." She smiled gently. "Thank you, human, for making me vibrate again."